This popped up on my Twitter feed the other day. Apparently, the big man himself, Donald Trump, is beefing with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., which seems like a long time coming, but really, to this point, it's been like playing patty cakes with each other and tickling each other's taints. Right? Haven't they been sort of like...
Well, I would say there have been two phases. There was initially when RFK was running as a Democrat, all the Republicans, including Trump, loved him because he was like, hitting Joe Biden. They found that very useful. And the minute he switched to independent, Trump didn't really say much, but his apparatchiks did. John Hannity
started
going in.
Yeah.
Every time RFK Jr., because he would go on Fox all the time in the, this is useful for us phase. But then once they flipped the switch and he would go on Fox News, they would be like, you supported Hillary Clinton and you did this, you care about the environment and you're terrible for all these reasons, and hit him with all of his quote unquote liberal positions from the past. And now Trump is apparently picking up that mantle.
There's a ruthless pragmatism to how the right-wing ecosystem functions,
They're open about it. There was some, I don't remember, some
somebody did say
Twitter online right-wing influencer who was like, yeah, I built this guy up when he was hitting Biden, but now it's going to be totally different.
Because they fear that RFK will take more votes from Trump. So now they're like, it's open season on him.
Yeah.
So really interesting dynamic. So anyway, Trump comes out on Truth Social and he says the following, talking about RFK. He is by far the most radical left person running for office, maybe ever. Look at his environmental program and close up the USA. What does that even mean, that last part? Oh, close up. Look at his environmental program and close up the USA. And this is his attempt. He's sharing a Breitbart article. This is actually similar to what Hannity did. Mm-hmm. Hannity had a whole list of things that RFK supported that were nominally left-wing in nature.
Yeah.
Right? He's against fracking. He supported Hillary Clinton. They view, to them, they're like, you're the worst person in the world if you take these positions.
Right.
And so he attacks him by calling him radical left, which, by the way, hilarious. RFK, radical left.
Yeah.
He's radical confused. That's what RFK is. I mean, I've never seen a guy who's more all over the place than RFK.
True. Very true. But most of the positions that he's chosen to highlight during his presidential campaign are either right-wing or code right-wing.
Correct. I mean, the big thing now, he's doing we got to shut down the border. And, I agree with Texas trying to overrule the federal government and put razor wire and razor buoys there to, kill migrants.
I mean, when I talked to him, I think the first interview that I did with him, he was in there advocating, we need to close our border the way that Israel does, the way that Israel deals with their border.
Don't get me started on him in Israel.
Yeah,
I mean,
that, of course, previewed a lot of other terrible Israel commentary to come, but that almost passed without a blip, but it was a pretty extreme statement in and of itself.
Yeah, this man deep throats Rabbi Shmuley on a daily basis, which says quite a bit about his politics. So RFK sees this from Trump, and he responds. He puts this on his Twitter account. Radical. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm doing the Trump voice for RFK.
Do you have an RFK voice?
Radical is shutting down the country with no due process, pushing Operation Warp Speed on an experimental pharmaceutical product, and giving Dr. Fauci, who now admits social distancing wasn't based on science, a presidential commendation. I look forward to debating our records in San Marcos on September 16th. I don't know what he's talking about with that last part. Trump ain't gonna debate fucking RFK.
No.
What's he talking about?
I don't even know if any debates are going to happen.
He says it it's already locked in and on the record or something. September 16th. That's so weird.
Yeah.
I don't know why I would do that.
Well, it's also telling, he's hitting Trump from the right here. He's going after him over Fauci. And it makes sense because this is the subject of RFK's most recent book. So he has said that he thinks he pulls more support from Trump. His donor base is more Trump donors than it is Democratic or Biden donors. But the polls have honestly been kind of mixed. They've shown him taking, some of the polls show him taking a little more from Trump. Some of them show him taking a little more from Biden. Some of them it's really totally split. So I still think it's hard to say. And then there's the other layer of he's only on one ballot right now.
Yeah, how many is he actually going to get on?
Right.
It looks like it's a total shit show.
And, to a large extent, he's got a real operation. He's got lots of money that he's been able to raise, et cetera. But they have gamed the system, so it is kind of impossible for any independent candidate to get on some of the ballots. California is one of the most challenging ones, but all of the states are very difficult. So he's explored, like, maybe I'll start my own party, and that helps in some states to get on the ballot. And then he's also floated, like, maybe I'll run as a libertarian and make use of their ballot access, which there was some libertarians who reacted very negatively to that because they felt like, oh, especially on Israel and Palestine, like, your views are not our views. You are not really a libertarian. You can't just come in and, like, hijack our party apparatus to your ends. But I think it's a real open question because of those ballot access issues, how much of an impact he's even able to have on this election at all.
I think that's definitely true. It's yet to be seen how many ballots he's going to get on, and my guess is it's actually going to be really, really difficult, and he won't be on anywhere nearly enough ballots. But the thing about this that annoys me is it's like the wave riding reaction with what he thinks is going to be popular online, because it was really popular online. You know what I'm saying? Like, Dr. Fauci and the death shot and all this stuff that, like, there's a bunch of clapping seal idiots online that love it. And that's why he's attacking from this angle. And in my opinion, it's one of the least substantive ways to attack Trump, because I'm happy he did Operation Warp Speed, as any reasonable person in the country would be. And by the way, the polls show people are generally happy that we got those COVID vaccines and got them out relatively fast, and they saved a gigantic number of lives. So it's like, yeah, in your little niche online subculture, you're hitting them as, oh, epic own, bro. But here in real worldville, people are looking at you like, what now?
Yeah.
You're mad at Trump for rushing through a vaccine in the midst of a pandemic where we needed a vaccine? It just, like, of all the things you can hit Trump on, it's just so right-wing coded, online, wave riding. It's so stupid. I hate it so much.
Well, and I think we just had a lesson, yet another lesson in the Republican primary of how limited that, like, online wave riding direction is in terms of actual support at the polls.
Yeah, how did DeSantis go?
How did DeSantis do? How did Vivek Ramaswamy do?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you could say, like, the fact that he was such an online candidate, it did allow Vivek to become a name, to become, to outlast a lot of the other Republican contenders. But you also see there is a very low ceiling on where that's going to get you. Now, RFK has something else going for him, which his name is RFK Jr. And so I think some of the support that's shown up for him in the polls, if not all, but the vast majority of his support is just from people who are like, don't like Biden, don't like Trump. It's a Kennedy. That feels good to me. Let's go for it. And don't have a lot of real, like, haven't really dug into who he is, what he believes, whether you agree with him or not. And we're actually doing a focus group for Breaking Points of RFK Jr. supporters. And so I'm actually really curious what is sort of the breakdown on how many of these people are, like, really into his anti-vax views or really into whatever he said about censorship, which he's flip-flopped on now with regard to Israel. But anyway, like, how many of them are very familiar with the actual specifics of his policies versus how many of them are like, don't like these other two guys. Here's a different option. The name is Kennedy. I'm just going to go for it.
He's got one other thing going for him now as well that nobody else has going for them.
What's that?
He's liking thirst traps online of giant asses.
That's a populist
did you see that?
move. I did see that.
You saw that?
That's a populist move right there.
So do you think that was an intern, or do you think that was actually him?
It was probably him.
You think it was him?
Yeah, I think it's...
How are you cruising Instagram as a horny, however the fuck old he is? 60-something, is he? You're perusing Instagram? Looking for, like, 19-year-old chicks showing their ass?
Yeah. I think the most likely theory is that he thought he was on some other burner account.
But go act like a respectable old man and go grab a Hustler magazine from 1997 or a Playboy magazine.
Look, he's the online candidate.
From 2001.
We were just discussing this. He's the online candidate.
All respectable old men jack off to magazines. Like, let's be serious here. If you're some goofy ass old, I'm sorry, it's just crazy. This is just crazy to me. I don't know. He annoys me. He irks me in multiple different ways. And the fact that he's put me in a position here where I feel like I'm rooting for Trump in the back and forth says quite a bit.
Yeah.
But to be fair, the way in which Trump attacks him, I think, is also really stupid. I think the Fauci, the shot thing is so played out and so dumb, and, like, you missed your peak on that a long time ago. That's point number one. Point number two is, but Trump saying to him, like, so far left, bro. Oh, you're so far left. It's like, that's not even true.
Right.
And if it was true, that would make him super based. Right? Like,
yeah.
Oh, wow, you want people to have health care. Exactly. Like, oh, you want health care and higher wages. What a radical.
No, instead he's like, I think the free market will work out.
Yeah, that's how can you call him far left?
The free market will work out. Environmentalism and climate change. It's like, what?
Every interview, he gives a sloppy blowjob to capitalism.
Yeah.
And you look at far left. Like, what are you talking about?
Right.
What are you talking about?
Yeah. I mean, like you said, I think the most important point is just how nakedly transactional, like how naked their positioning on this really is. Because Trump was saying lots of nice things about RFK.
Yes, a lot of really
on.
nice things, yeah.
Yeah, and then the minute that he thought, oh, this person could be a threat to me, let me make sure I code them as left wing. Let me try
What
to
an extremist.
make
He's
sure
so radical.
no one in my camp is tempted by him whatsoever. Then the script is completely flipped. There were those reports that somebody in the Trump team, which RFK claimed that somebody in the Trump team had approached him about potentially being Trump VP. I don't buy that whatsoever.
You know what? I semi-buy it in this respect. I think there are people in Trump's inner circle who are far too online, who like the idea, who reached out to people who are in the orbit of RFK, and you got some whispers that got through to him about it.
Yeah.
But in terms of seriously considering
as like a real idea,
and to be fair to RFK, he has been very clear for a very long time. I would not consider that in any way, shape, or form.
Last time he was asked, he said he wasn't interested in it. I don't know. I read into it. There was a little bit of political wiggle room that he left himself there. He was like, oh, I'm very honored to be considered, but I'm not interested. But it wasn't like a hard no. You know how they'll leave themselves like a little bit of wiggle room? It wasn't like a hard no, absolutely not. I can't stand this man. There's no way I would work for him. But as I said, Trump is going to have someone on the ticket who he thinks will be 100% loyal to him no matter what.
And who he wants to have sex with.
Potentially.
No, 100% who's loyal and who he wants to have sex with.
So
that's how we're. Look at Alina Habba. He picked Alina Habba for his fucking attorney, and that worked out horribly.
So you're still in the Kristi Noem?
I think it's going to be Kristi Noem. I think there's an outside chance of Elise Stefanik.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be Kristi Noem, and now I've added one more to the mix.
Who's that?
Donald Trump Jr. Because if Trump is convinced...
I mean, that's the loyalty thing.
Well, yeah, if he's convinced that, no, I'm going to go down on one of these 91 criminal charges, and now there's he's being found liable on every single civil trial. So he's losing every civil trial.
Right.
So I'm probably going to lose the criminal ones too. And if he thinks that to save his own ass and definitely get pardoned, he'd pick his son as his VP. Then if he gets taken off the field, his son hopefully wins in his mind and then pardons daddy.
Right.
Like, and that's, you could
that's
for
like
sure.
The loyalty piece. Like,
it's huge.
It's definitely going to be someone that he feels is going to be loyal to the end, come no matter what insanity unfolds.
Can I say final thing on these two is I think what annoys me the most about both of them is that they both posture as being like anti-establishment and anti-elitist. And it's like nobody in the world has the more pro-establishment and pro-elitist position than you guys on Israel. Like the number one issue right now in terms of how important it is on the global scene.
Yeah.
Like you both have an identical position on Israel. And it's like rah-rah genocide, rah-rah ethnic cleansing. Oh, aren't I so anti-establishment? Doesn't look anti-establishment to me.
Well, it's not only that. I mean, on their economic policy, the Trump tax cuts, but also, as we were just discussing, RFK is all like, let the free market do its thing, and it's amazing, and it doesn't need any regulation.
And he hit him on Fauci and not on, remember when you cut taxes for the rich and 83% of the benefits went to the top 1% and you incentivized corporations to do outsourcing?
Right.
Nothing on that.
Right.
Nothing. Because he probably agrees with him on the tax cuts because he's a freak.
Yep.
And he likes giant asses on Insta, which is acceptable, but dude, you're 1,000 years old. Don't
relatable.
Do that. Just don't do that. How old are you? Like, come on, man. Hustler Magazine, 1997. Look into it.
Surprised you don't support him on that front, babe, to be honest.
All old dudes have to jack off to magazines. I don't want to. Like, what are you going to do? Go on Google, big boobies. Like, is that what you're going to do? Google big boobies? You're 67, bro. Get it together. What's wrong with you?
He's an online candidate. He's down with the youths or whatever.